Joe Patrovich is an iconic coach who reached legendary status in the sports of football and wrestling. He started his football career in 1980 at Levittown Division High School in Nassau County. And in his 6 years, they won 3 league titles, 2 county titles, had 2 undefeated seasons, and won a Rutgers Cup. In 1986, Joe moved on to Islip High School in Suffolk County, where he coached for 20 years. His teams enjoyed 7 league titles and 3 county titles. In 2008, he took over the football program at Hopog High School, and in his first year, led them to the playoffs and Suffolk County finals. In wrestling, Joe started his career in Plainview in 1978. He stayed in Nassau County schools until 1986, and over those 9 years, his teams had 3 league championships and 2 top county team finishes. As individuals, his wrestlers had 27 league champions, 19 county place winners, 2 state finalists, and 1 state champion. Over his long 27-year high school coaching career, Joe has coached 94 league champions, 25 county champions, 30 state qualifiers, 27 state place winners, 15 state finalists, 8 state champions, and 10 All-Americans. In addition, Joe has captured 11 league crowns, 2 county team championships, and 2 state team titles. In 2005, under Joe's leadership, Islip put 9 wrestlers in the Suffolk County finals. He has a career dual meet record of 309 wins, 86 losses, and 2 ties. Additionally, Joe's 3 sons, Joseph, Mike, and Ryan, are all Suffolk County champions, New York State finalists or champions, and all reached the Senior High School Wrestling National Finals, making Joe the only father in the country whose children accomplished such a feat. Joe Patrovich is the only football coach in Long Island history to win both Suffolk and Nassau County titles and take 3 different football teams to the county finals. Patrovich has been inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, New York State Wrestling Hall of Fame, and the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. Joe is currently the head wrestling coach at Division I Long Island University. Welcome to Sports Talk with Bob Mack. Very, very excited tonight. I have Joe Patrovich, legendary coach. And now you guys know I do legendary coaches all the time, but what I think special about Joe, he's a legend in football and in wrestling. And Joe, we were talking earlier about some other legendary coaches. We mentioned Joe Sip, right? Someone you're friends with. And someone like Joe, a lot of people say to be as successful as he was, you have to be tunnel vision kind of into what you're doing. You said, the reason he was successful, other people were jealous, what he was putting in the work. He was doing all the time. How did you do it with 2 sports?
Absolutely. It wasn't easy. Again, there's not many people doing it. I think Rob Shaver at Plain Edge.
Yeah.
Me and him, I think, were the only guys doing it for a while. It's not easy. My family obviously suffered or enjoyed it, depending on who you talk to. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was 12 months a year. In the summer, wrestling and football, and we did it right. Both sports, so it wasn't easy.
You did it right. Yeah, you did it right. I mean, you have 2 Rutgers?
Yes.
Two Rutgers Cups. I mean, for a coach to even have 1, but to get 2 and then be the wrestling guy also, and winning county titles and state titles. And I think I read in here when you left high school, you had what, 94 all county wrestlers, or I think it was a 94 or 94 league champions, some ridiculous.
Honestly,
I know you're not a
don't
numbers.
know. Andy Slauson would let me know what we had. It wasn't. Look, it's important, right? Ego was involved with everybody.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it wasn't about that. We wanted to wrestle the best teams and compete against the best teams. And it was more important for me to have our guys wrestle the best guys rather than me get wins. I see that all the time. Guys want wins, pat themselves on the back and all that stuff. But it wasn't that important. Like we wrestled people from Jersey regularly. We went to, we wrestled a team from Oklahoma. We wrestled, anybody. I wanted our guys to wrestle the best teams or the best guys to be ready for the States. So
Nice.
my thing was when we get back to the to Long Island, everything else was easy. People talked about Suffolk County, New York State, how tough it is. I said, we just wrestled guys from Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and the best teams in Jersey.
Little
And
different.
when we got back, it was, it was easy for our guys.
Right.
It wasn't easy,
Right.
but obviously that was a goal. Right?
So let me go because I want our audience to get to know Joe Patrick. Right, you're here because of everything you've done in your career. But tell me where it all started. Tell me about you, because I'm curious about growing up. How did you get into wrestling and football? Was it your dad? Was it one
No,
of your neighbors? Where did it start for
no, my
you?
dad was a unbelievable father, the best guy, my best friend. But he was athletic. He played in the service, like softball, whatever, right? He boxed, but no, I mean, I had friends who played football and wrestled when I was, 12 years old and 11.
Nassau County, right?
Yeah, Farmingdale, and
Farmingdale.
Farmingdale was the place to be. They're still real good in everything most sports for the most part. But my friends, got me into athletics, um, and
And then
yeah, it all
college,
worked out. Yeah, yeah. Then I went to Nassau Community, and then I went to CW Post.
CW Post, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
LIU, you're back there
So
now.
yeah, so Farmingdale at that time, you know, I graduated with 1,300 students,
Wow.
graduating staff. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a
So
lot of students.
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I think it was the biggest class ever. So we had 100 guys on my football team. We had 70 on the wrestling team, and we won the counties. We were the best team in the state in football for a couple years. I had great coach,
What'd you play?
whatever,
What'd you play?
all good stuff. All good
What
stuff.
position?
I played linebacker and guard. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Yeah, it was a all Long Island guy, all of that stuff, right? And wrestling was secondary to me for the most part. My senior year, it became very important. I just
Wrestling
kind of
did.
did it, yeah, and then the next year, when I was a senior, um, it became very, very important. I started following it more.
Okay.
I had a chart on my wall about who's wrestling who type of thing. It became really, really
Well,
important.
for me, I always thought about, um, what could have been. I look back at all the guys that were on my team in high school,
Mm.
the guys that were very successful. All of them had fathers that were wrestlers at some point or
Yeah,
another, or athletic. And I didn't have that. You didn't have that. But your kids had that.
yeah.
And
Well,
thankfully my kids had that.
my father, again, he was athletic. He was a great, great guy, hardworking guy, construction type of guy. But he was the toughest guy I knew, and I'll leave it like that.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
So
All
you
right.
had to be tough in my family. He
Okay.
had he had three brothers. They were all tough, and he was a great person. But at the end of the day, you had to be tough. You know, on Sunday we would wrestle. That
Oh,
we
really?
did the
Oh, that's awesome. That
the
is
whole
great.
family type of thing. So look, he was like I said. My father, he never missed a wrestling event or a football game. He
Wow.
went to everything that I either competed in or coached at. So he was really into it because he was a great father.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that sounds
yeah,
awesome. And you get, again, I said it, you gave that gift to your kids. So you graduate CW Post, uh, phys ed
yes,
major,
yep,
and you start teaching in Nassau.
yeah, yeah. So when I graduated, I wound up getting a job right away, and it wasn't easy at that time. It was kind of like the way it is now. To find a
Yeah.
teaching job was not easy. Uh, it was a funny story. The AD who I interviewed with, I got the job because my resume, I didn't put my phone number on it.
Oh, really?
So so yeah, she had 100 resumes. She's looking through them, and she says, "Who was this idiot that didn't put his phone number on?"
I got to meet this
So
guy.
she had, yeah. So she called me. Yeah. They needed a wrestling coach and a football guy, so it was actually a perfect situation. And I went to Levittown the first time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you started in Levittown,
Started in Levittown.
football, wrestling.
Great place, great community. Like to this day, I coached those guys when I was 22. I see those guys regularly. They come to post events. That Levittown is a different place. It's a great place. The people are awesome. Yeah, firemen and cops and hardworking people, and it was a great place to work.
How long were you there?
I was there for 7 years. I was excessed every year I was there, and that got old. In the
Yeah.
summer, I didn't know if I had a job. We won 2 Rutgers Cups, and sure enough, I don't have a job. So
That's
I had to
crazy.
move a little bit.
Yeah. So now you're doing wrestling there, you're doing football there, but you're being accessed every year.
Yep.
I remember Richie Zachar, God rest his soul. I love
Yep.
Richie to death. He kept getting accessed.
Yeah.
I guess at that time, just the numbers were up, the numbers were down, that kind of thing.
It's funny. I get a call from the AD at Islip. Actually, I went to East Meadow for 1 year.
Okay.
Real good friend of mine, Gary Ventimiglia. Most people know him. He's a legend as a coach, a huge mentor for me. So I was getting accessed. He had the job in East Meadow, and he said, "Listen, there's a job opening in East Meadow." So I went there for 1 year. It didn't work out for whatever reason. Okay, I was going to be the football coach / wrestling coach. Um, the coach who was there before, he didn't know he was getting whatever. He wasn't going to coach anymore.
Right.
So it was awkward for me. So I left, and I wound up going to Iceland. And the AD at Islip was Al Gayrod.
Okay.
So I didn't know him.
Yeah, I didn't
He
know him.
interviewed me. They were struggling a little bit, and I got the job at Islip.
And the rest is history there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So I did football for the first couple of years. The wrestling coach was there already. He was retiring, and so yeah. Then I took the
picked up the
wrestling job.
program and ran.
But I still stayed involved with wrestling. I was doing club stuff. I was doing freestyle stuff. I did some JV stuff. So I enjoyed wrestling, and yeah. But the end result was I was accessed for another like 9 years.
Oh, get
So,
out of
yeah.
here.
So I go to Islip thinking I have a job that I'll die with, and every year I was accessed again.
Wow.
So it was a
That's a
tough
tough
go for
run.
my family. Yeah.
But no
My
one knows.
wife,
Like,
yeah, she doesn't know.
They know the record. They know, all of your guys who won the
Yeah.
states. They know your team who won the
Yeah.
states and the counties.
It wasn't easy.
And
I was working construction all the time and hoping I'll have a job, in a couple of months.
wow.
No insurance sometimes. You didn't have insurance because I was already excess. So, but it all worked out.
Joe, I get this question all the time. Being a football wrestling guy, everybody asks always, what do you like better? And I know my answer.
Honestly, I say I don't have a preference. I
That's
don't.
my answer.
I really don't. Completely different sports, obviously. The team aspect, but again, it's especially now at LIU and at Islip and in Levittown. Wrestling was a team sport for us. It really was. It was a family type of thing. So yeah, but I love both of them. I really do.
Yeah.
And again, at some point when I quote retire, I'll never retire, but I'll go back to do both somehow. Be involved with both.
I was at the Nationals with Liam in 8th grade, and Coach Bass had to leave before the semifinals, and I asked your son Michael to sit in the corner with me. And after that match, Michael grabbed me and he said, "He's got to be full time. He's got to be. He's an All-American as an 8th grader. He's got to be full time." And I said, "Mike, I can't do it." I said, "I love football so much, and he loves it so much, and I know what his potential is here, but we just love it way too much to give it up." And he was like, "Oh."
But it's funny, Mike did both.
Well, I know. Well, that's why he said to me.
Yeah.
He said to me that he did both, and he said, but at one point, I guess, was he your quarterback?
He was a quarterback and
Right.
linebacker, both
And
him and Ryan.
He said
Yeah.
that he eventually gave it up. I don't know, was it junior year or senior year?
In football?
And I think
No,
he went straight through.
No, Mike was the LeBeau winner.
Oh, was he?
Not the LeBeau, the other award. Yeah,
LeBoux?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
By the way, Greg Sarah, who was on the show with me, is also in the audience tonight. And Greg, thanks. Any facts I screw up, just
Now I'm nervous. Now I'm
straighten it
nervous.
out for me.
Trying to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Now,
Enjoying this.
we let Anybody in the room is always welcome. You know that. That's what show's all
I
about.
see him now. I'm always nervous, you know?
Yeah, well, you know,
I make a mistake, he'll know exactly what I said.
that's true. That's true.
No, the guy that corrects the mistakes is Andy Sloss.
That's it. I talked about Andy already.
We
Yeah,
did
we're
mention
talking
him
about,
already, if I
what
want to
I
get my
did. I
stats
said,
right.
I have to ask Andy. He knows more about me than I do.
Encyclopedic. He
Yep.
only gave him the job at Newsday so he'd stop calling and complaining.
How'd that go?
How'd that go? Yeah.
Now he's my problem.
So Joe, talk to me. Let's talk a little bit about your kids, the boys, and I'm talking when they were younger. They talk about them getting into the sports and how that was, because now, truthfully, they're all legendary guys. They've had great wrestling careers, and I'm talking high school and college. So tell me how that started and a little bit about that journey.
It's funny because parents always ask, how'd you get your kids to do this? I said, I didn't. You know, I went to practice. I did a club. I did whatever, off season stuff. And if they wanted to come, let's go. I did the opposite. So I say, listen, why don't you guys stay home today? Because too many
Reverse
parents
psychology.
take their kids and say, we're going to practice. And a kid winds up hating the sport. And it's an issue. And I talk about people, oh, you did that. I said, no, I didn't. I said, we're going to practice. If you want to come, that's great. Now, as they got better, junior, whatever, or, 8th grade, 9th grade, listen, we have practice. You want to go to this tournament, then you got to practice, right? But
Right.
at the end of the day, I didn't drag him around, and again, I think it worked out for him,
Well, it worked out really,
Yeah.
really well for him. And I think that's a great lesson for all the dads out there and moms that are asking
Mhm.
successful guys.
Yeah. I have conversations all the time, and especially like with recruiting, kids will come in, for a visit with their parents, and I'm trying to talk to the kid, and the father's talking or the mother's talking. I said, I'd like to hear him, what he
Right.
thinks about wrestling. You know what I mean? He'll be a national champ. He'll do this. He wants to, he wants to be a national champ. He'll do whatever you ask and all that stuff. I said, I said, does he love wrestling? Oh, he loves wrestling. I said, no,
Yeah.
does he love wrestling? It sounds like you love wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's about him.
And you're going to love him.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right,
And-
he's going to be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you got to get that read.
Yeah. I think Paul Bass, I think in the interview, he talked to me about it, and other guys have talked to me. Actually, Rob Shaver talked to me about it with his son. How did you do it? I said, listen, when it was over, a lot of the times it was over. We didn't talk about it, at dinner table,
Right.
whatever, and obviously we did. But the bottom line, I really tried to say, listen, practice is over. We might talk about a match or what happened or a game or whatever. But for the most part, you can't beat them up with all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, Paul, in his interview, he brought you up, and he said you were really that mentor for him on
Yeah.
what to do with his
Yeah,
kids.
no, he called me about
Yeah.
it. And like I said, Rob did too, and other guys have said that. And look, it's not, I certainly was not perfect, not even close, right? We had issues, whatever. Coaching your kids was not easy. But at the end of the day, it's more about the relationship with your kids. Like at the end of,
100%.
we, as much as I love wrestling or love football and they love it, at the end of the day, I'm their
Yeah,
father, right?
It's about being their dad. Now, let's talk
And my
about that.
wife,
So you had Michael and Ryan follow you to Islip
yeah,
to wrestle for you,
Yeah.
and Joe stayed at Connecticut
yeah, it was
and wrestled for Bill.
that was awkward. Yeah.
That was tough, right?
Yeah. So
Did you go against them?
what happened was I had I got the job at Islip as the wrestling coach, and my kids were going to kid wrestling stuff, and so I was doing it for Connecticut actually, and at Islip.
Mhm.
So when I got the job, and my son Joe, he was happy. He's in 9th grade. He's already
He's got his
wrestling for
friends.
Bill. He had his friends. So how do we make this work? So when Joey was going to graduate, then we probably thought we would move to Islip, but I had to pay tuition. So yeah, I had to pay
Wow.
tuition for Mike, and then we moved to Islip with when Ryan was there, when Joey graduated.
I think you paid a little tuition,
Yeah,
but you got, I think, 3 state titles out of it? Those boys,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Michael had 1, Ryan had 2.
Yep.
Ryan was in the finals 3 times.
Yep.
Michael was in the finals twice.
Yep.
I mean, it was worth the money, I think.
Yeah.
I would have paid my way
Yeah.
for that one.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And then Where did Joe go to college?
Joe went to Hofstra.
He went to
He
Hofstra?
was Tom Ryan's probably his biggest recruit when he got the job. Um, and he had some issues academically. He wound up going to Nassau and coming back to Hofstra. So
Okay.
he had to go to Nassau in between. Yeah.
Okay. And then
And then the
Ryan
relation,
and Mike, or Michael
I
and
know
Ryan.
Tom as a kid. So I did, when I was in Levittown, Tom had to remind me. Tom did a fundraiser for us when we started the program at Post. And he came in to the city to speak as for the fundraiser.
Mm.
And he reminded me, I even forgot. He said, I coached him. Basically, there was no clubs, but there was a gym in Levittown that two of my friends owned, and I had a quote a piece of it. The piece was I had a mat, right? And my deal was bringing kids, help him out. But at the end of the day, I said, I'm not only doing this unless we have a mat. So we could have practice in the summer and we could have practice on Sundays because
Right.
you couldn't get into the high schools. So we had the facility, and I opened it up. I didn't charge anybody. I ran a practice on Sunday or whatever in the summer, and Tom Ryan and his brothers used to come from Wantua, and I forgot about it, to be honest.
Right.
But
Right.
he reminded me, and reminded everybody else. He's indebted to me,
What you did
and
for
that was a
him, he was giving
relationship.
back.
Then
That's great.
so then when he comes back at Hofstra, he recruited my son Joe, and then obviously Mike and Ryan, so Tom and I are pretty tight.
Yeah,
He's a good man,
that's awesome.
real
And
good man.
Michael and Ryan, right? We're both All-Americans there.
Uh,
Is that correct?
no,
No.
Ryan was not.
Ryan wasn't.
Ryan was
I'm shocked.
unbelievable. Yeah, well, he had not like 7 surgeries while he was in college,
Wow.
but he beat the number 1 seed, and he beat the national champ
Yeah.
2
I
different
was going to
years.
say, like,
Yeah, he
he
beat
was
the number 1
so
seed, the
good.
guy who was second, the year before. He beat him in the first round. The guy, he was the number 1 seed, and then he beat a national champ. But he was always banged up. He couldn't get over 3 or 4 wins. He was over
Yeah.
that. He was hurt,
Yeah.
But he was good. He was as good as it was as a recruit. Everybody came to see him. That
Yeah.
was cool.
No,
Yeah.
he's a dude, and what he's done as a coach,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
And
he's put state
what
champions.
Mike has done,
Oh,
yeah.
they're incredible.
So
But believe me,
good.
they're incredible. I tried to hire Mike. I wanted him
Yeah,
so bad.
yeah,
I would have taken him any day, either one, well, 3 of them really, any day of the week,
yeah.
I would have taken. Um, so you have this outstanding high school career, right, as a coach. Coaching, like I said, I mean, Greg wasn't here before when I was talking about it. Football, 2 Rutgers Cups, state champion in championship as a team in wrestling. You're in the National Hall of Fame, the New York State Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Suffolk County Hall of Fame, and you're like,
And now the ice one. I just got into the ice.
oh, that's right.
Yeah,
The Ice Hall of Fame.
last a
That's
month
right.
ago. I got into that one.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I can't believe I left them off
Figured
the
I'd throw
map.
that out there.
Yeah. Well,
It took some time to get into
yeah,
that.
yeah. They saw, everybody else doing it, and they were like, maybe we should maybe consider
No,
him.
you had to retire, be retired 10 years. So that's
Yeah.
what happened. They
All
wouldn't
right.
like it.
The 10-year window for Joe
It was longer
Patrick to
though.
get
I think
in.
it was longer. I don't know.
I would have put you in earlier anyway. I would have just taken a vote in the room. So you're done. It's over. And the last place I wrestled was CW Post. In fact,
Yeah.
it was the last wrestling team they ever had, and it was gone. Title IX, it's over. They'll never have wrestling again. And all of a sudden, somebody comes in, decides they want to have a program, and they reach out to you
Yeah.
to be the head coach.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Where did that?
So, Collins, I had a relationship with him with football, but he was a wrestler, he loved wrestling, whatever, right? Sayville, town over. And I knew him as a coach, and he was the AD. So he called me and said, listen, we're bringing back the program. Are you interested? And I was working actually at that time at Hopog. So we went to the county finals in football. I was coaching at like I said, at Hopog, and coaching still at Islip in wrestling. And Brian Collins calls me and said, listen, are you interested? I said, yeah, I would like to listen at least. So I was going to retire. Um, I sat down with him, we had a plan. I went to the D2 Nationals, that year. We weren't starting the program till the next year, but
You wanted to see what was out there,
yeah,
what
I
you were
went
gonna
there
be
to
up
see what's
against.
going on. I went to the meetings and trying to figure out what we need to do moving forward, and yeah, and then we started the program with in a basement, like in a dorm. Well, you were
Yeah,
there, I
I
think, right?
remember. I do.
So
You
not
were in Riggs, right?
yeah, not
Yeah.
funded very well. We had a fundraise for mats and yeah, we had a lot going on, a lot going on. And I was actually still coaching at Hop Park. The AD was Joe
Oh,
Tasman,
Tasman.
who
Yeah,
I
yeah,
loved.
yeah.
I didn't know
My
him
brother's
before,
friend.
so he reeled me in to be the football coach at Hop Park. And I didn't know him. And to this day, I love him. He's
Yeah,
like one of
Taz is
my
a great
favorite
guy.
guys.
Yeah.
He's a really good person, right? But I take the job at Post, and I said, "Listen, I'm done. I can't do both." He goes, "Do me a favor. Give me one more year." And I said, "Joe, I to do both sports, in college, and it's
Yeah,
part time, but it's not part time; it's full time." So
right.
he goes, "No, give me one more year." So to this day, if Joe sees this, I said, "Joe, you almost killed me." Then I had a stroke. I
Make sure
was
we send it to Joe. Yeah,
so
exactly.
I was coaching football. We were pretty good. We had a couple good years at Hop Hog, and the last game of the year we had a win to get in to the playoffs. And that week I had a stroke. So obviously I didn't coach that day,
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah. So
And you're smiling and laughing about it here
yeah,
today. And
yeah,
I listen. You brought it up first, so
yeah,
because I knew we were
yeah.
going
I'm
to
okay
talk
with
about
it.
it.
Yeah,
I remember when I heard you had a stroke,
yeah.
and I was so heartbroken. I was really sad and upset, and
So was I.
yeah. But
Wasn't good.
yeah, I know it wasn't just me. Um, and then and after the stroke, um, I saw you a lot, and you were struggling, but you were doing well.
Yeah,
And we talked,
yeah,
on and off. You and I would
yeah,
talk, and you would invited me out to a lot of the post stuff that was
yeah,
going on, and uh, and then I got sick,
yeah,
and you were one of the first people that came up to me at the States. I'll never forget because you came up to sat with me at the state tournament. We talked for almost 2 hours. And
yeah,
I really, really appreciated
yeah. No,
that. And my dad, when my dad had a stroke, you
yeah.
heard
I didn't
about it.
realize that until today. You told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked, but we talked a little bit about that
Okay.
at the state tournament because you were telling me, I told you a little bit about him, and then you were telling me what was going on with you.
Yeah.
And I was saying how he was explaining to me what that he knew everything that was going on, but he couldn't get it from here to here.
Hmm.
And I said, well, you don't have that issue anymore. And
Yeah.
you said to
I
me,
still do.
oh, Bobby, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you
I'm
talk
still working at it. It
Yeah.
still gets better. People told me in 6 months you'll be as good as you're going to be. Not the case. That's why I'm still working. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
It's like coaching, right? There's always something that you could do to make yourself better. And in coaches, I still talk about that with our kids. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the same thing with the stroke. People told me, in 6 months, as good as you'll be good. No, no, no. I'm still getting better, and it's been over 9 years.
And you're back.
And I work at it. I
Yeah.
really do. I struggle, with different things, you know. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's a great message for all those stroke
absolutely.
victims out there,
Yep.
the people that go through it, to see you at the state you're at. Um, and you were telling me how you might want to say, oh, that's Coach Guma over there.
Yeah.
You know what you want to say, but you can't get it here,
Yep.
and you have to think of some other way to say it.
Yeah. It's
Which,
exhausting. Some
yeah,
of the times it's exhausting. So, like again, I have to split the word. Like I want to say something, I can't get it out, but I know I can't get it out. So I come up with another word to s- to speak. It's really weird, but it's tiring, during the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I'm still getting better. Physically, I'm fine. I still can't feel my hand and my foot sometimes, whatever. But the bottom line, you know,
but I'm fine.
look,
Yeah,
I was a mess. I couldn't talk and I couldn't walk. Like, so, it was, I'm not sure, degrees of how bad it was, but I was in a hospital for a while.
yeah,
But,
yeah. Would you think that your background as a coach, as an athlete, your mindset of always telling your kids, because
absolutely,
I know what you told them,
absolutely.
never quit, keep
No,
pushing, keep going. That's why you've
Absolutely.
been successful?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm not sure again the degree where I was at or whatever, but I know it wasn't good. And like I went back to my house. My wife, she wanted to shoot me. I got weights. I'm on a chair. I can't walk. And I'm trying to lift, like dropping in weights, like I was a mess. But
Uh,
I had to do something, you know what I mean? So the mindset is really, really important. And my kids, my wife, my family, I mean, you need a support system, right?
yeah.
So the fact that I made it and I think I'm still getting better, I think it's a good message for a lot of people. Now, it doesn't mean, I actually talk to other people. Like, they'll call me, listen, can you come by and see my brother? That type of thing. And, you know,
Once a
it,
coach, always a
yeah,
coach. You're
it's a
just
good thing.
coaching something else
It's
now,
just a good thing,
you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's, that there's a silver lining, right? A blessing behind you got it
Yeah.
so that you could help other people. I sort of felt that way about
Yeah.
what I went through.
Well, I hope I didn't
I,
get it, to be
well,
honest.
well,
But yeah, no,
but
I agree. Yeah.
but you did,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
and
And I could help somebody else without
yeah,
question.
because if somebody else got it,
Yep.
they might not
Yep.
be the type of personality
Yeah.
that's going to help,
Yeah.
that's going to coach people through it,
Yeah,
And I
and
think,
like you said, as a coach, you have to preach that to everybody else. So it's amazing how many people came to see me, and I didn't want anybody to know. So my wife
mm,
I told my wife, I don't want anybody at the hospital. Like I didn't want anybody to know. I was struggling. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. But some people found out, like a guy like Louis Gianni, he
mhm,
showed up right away. I mean, really good people, and obviously all my friends and coaches that there's just so many good people, man,
yeah.
that got me through
Well,
this.
you look, I mean, you look and sound
Yeah,
great. If I didn't know it,
yeah,
if people that watch this podcast,
yeah.
they would never know.
People will say that. Yeah,
They would never know.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing. No,
yeah,
really, really, and I attribute that to your fortitude, your willpower, your ability to
yeah,
just mentally and physically overcome
yeah.
toughness.
And again, you need
Faith.
support. And I
Yeah,
got a lot of support, so that's a
yeah,
good
yeah. Well, you got to shout out to your wife because you
thing.
said she is your
Yeah,
biggest supporter.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
actually tell the boys.
It's funny. We talked about it before. You you mentioned a couple things, right? I remember when it happened. I remember exactly what happened. It was
Really,
so weird. I remember the whole thing. Yeah, it's a funny story. I probably can't do it on a
you can. We could edit
podcast, but yeah,
it.
yeah. So I know what had happened.
Mhm,
I was on the ambulance going to Bayshore, and I remember watching, the lights, and they're talking to me, and I couldn't speak, right? So it was really, really surreal,
mhm.
But I knew exactly what was going on when I got there. I knew exactly what was going on. I was in a in a bed. Maybe we should edit this one, but so in the hallway there was no rooms. So
Uh,
I'm there, my family, everybody's crying. Oh, he's dying, and I'm like, right, and no, he's gonna right, and they're talking to the doctor. The doctor comes in and he says, "Doctor, he has a pen." So he's like checking me. He's going, "What is this?" I'm saying, "I know what it is. I can't speak." Right, I'm like,
mhm.
I'm looking up, and he said, "What is this?" And they go, "They don't say anything." He turns around to my kids and he says, I'm not sure he's going to make it, something like that.
No.
And my kids freak. So it was an ugly, ugly thing, right? Get him out
Wow.
of here, whatever. Make a long story short. So now I'm there, me being me.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, I'm not saying it that way
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
my
I
mind.
got you. I know what you might have said.
So sure enough, about 6 hours later, I guess, I don't even know how long, might have been a day, right? He comes in and he goes, What is this? The same doctor. My kids are there. And I said, It's a pen. I didn't
Yeah.
but I
We'll
had
edit that one, I
other
guess.
things. It's a pen. So my kid's like, hey, he's alive type of thing. Yeah, he's alive. So
And
yeah,
we're back.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah,
Wild. Tell us, so moving up to the college level as a coach,
yeah,
how did that, and especially like going through this whole stroke,
yeah.
and now you got to
It was
run this
crazy.
program,
Yeah, it was crazy.
and now,
Hey, we couldn't have done it without Mike Zimbler and my
Mhm,
son Ryan was the assistant coach, and Ryan did everything, man. He was a college wrestler. He knew exactly what needed to be done. I came back. I wasn't supposed to come back that year, but I came back like real late in the year, and Ryan was handling things and whatever, and I was kind of on the bench and talking a little bit and
mhm.
whatever, and yeah, so the whole process when you think about it is just bizarre,
Yeah.
you know, from a high school coach, coaching football, whatever, and getting that job and being real excited to do it. It was a real exciting thing for me to do. Um, but but the complication of
Oh,
the
yeah.
stroke, made it a little bit different.
And you had,
And I still struggled. It's, when I met you, saw you the first couple of years, again, I was still struggling. And again, I'm still getting better,
yeah.
just like the same thing we talk about the kids all the time, right? When I think I'm done, like I know everything, I'll
Mhm.
retire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
So, yeah,
say
I
that
guess you're
all the
never
time
gonna
to our
retire.
kids. So you're trying to get better in everything you do.
Mhm.
As old as I am as a coach, you're still trying to find something that works. And it might not be a technique. It might be, the way you deal with people and kids change, all of that stuff. So yeah.
What's the biggest thing that's changed from when you were a young coach to an older coach?
I tell people not much. Like
No?
most people would tell you, oh, kids change, older coaches will tell you that, younger coaches, oh, it's not the same. They're kids, man, and a little bit different, for different reasons, right? For whatever the reason is. But they're still kids. You still have to relate to them. And look, sometimes you do a better job than you do in others. But at the end of the day, is it more important, less important? There's a lot of kids that, athletics are as important as it was when I was in high school. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I went to, again, some of it is where you've been. Like Farmingdale was that place. Athletically, we were crazy good. Like
Mhm.
we won everything, right? And you try to now get that out to other guys, our teams that this is what you need to do to be that guy. And again, in college, it's the same thing. Like, well, Jesse D'Aracchio now is my assistant coach, right? Johnny Osseri. I mean, they've been there, done that, and they're younger, so they understand what needs to be done. But nothing has changed, like
Mhm.
in my mind.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
obviously things change, but as far as
How
dealing with
about how about
people,
from the D2 to the D1 level change?
that was much different,
Is it,
much different.
and what are those differences?
Financially, because
Financially?
again, as a D2 program, we were getting there. We had some, some All Americans. Things were getting better, and again, it's about money. Everything's about money.
Uh,
In D2, it was. When you go to the IWA, then it's really about money.
mhm.
People have $1 billion, $3-4 million budgets.
Yeah.
So that's the key with all of it now. It's about fundraising, right?
Yeah.
And finding assistant coaches and being able to pay
Is
them.
that for you going from like high school where you weren't recruiting, you weren't doing fundraisers, you were a technician, you were a big brother, a mentor, a father, like that's what a high school coach is. Now you're in college and you're the head guy and you got younger guys.
But you're still doing those things.
You're still doing all those things,
Exactly same things,
but
but
now
now,
you
right,
got to fundraise.
yeah,
You got to wear so many other
it's a whole
hats.
different game. Yeah,
Yeah.
fundraising is huge, and it never stops. It never stops. Recruiting, obviously, a whole different game, right?
What about
Um,
is the portal really affecting that recruiting?
now
Good or
it has.
bad
Yeah,
for
again,
you?
with us, it's a little bit different. We're not Penn State and we're not Ohio State, and
Mhm.
football. Obviously, what goes on in the portal now is insane. We got a couple guys from the portal. We haven't lost any of our guys. And we got two guys that are really good that will help us from the portal.
Okay.
But it's about money. Do we have enough scholarships? We have enough money to travel. I mean, it all counts, and it's not easy.
Yeah. And a kid, I mean, maybe it hasn't watered down to wrestling yet, but um, they can get NILs, right?
Oh yeah, no,
So
guys are getting it.
uh,
Absolutely, guys are getting big money
now, how do
to
we?
wrestle. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. Thank
it's
goodness, where I am. It's really important for the university. The university cares about wrestling, but we're not a big budget program. You know what I mean? So the people that help me, my idea is awesome. The university, things have changed. For
yeah.
us, it's gotten
We
much
got a
much
room,
better.
right?
Yeah,
You
we have
built
a
that
we have a
room.
real nice room now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in a full-time assistant coach, which we haven't had. So things have gotten much better. But at the end of the day, it's a business. It's a business for the university. It's a business for the student, and the portal now is just different, man.
Yeah.
Guys are getting big money.
Change the game. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to change for
yeah.
me. I think about NCAA football, and I don't, like the
Not
purity's
for the
gone.
good, I don't think.
Right.
Right?
I feel the same way.
Oh, you think about what Saban just said, right?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of one of the reasons he left.
Yeah.
He can't deal with this. It's just too
No.
much.
And how do you build when guys are coming, guys
Yeah.
are going, guys are coming? You know, your job really
Yeah.
is to be a
Well, you
salesman. and-
recruit 3 quarterbacks and, you know, the starter is the starter and the other 2 guys go, they're not gonna wait. I'm leaving,
going
I'm
to
going
the portal.
someplace else. It's just crazy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and it's gonna happen in wrestling too. You know, guys will leave it.
Yeah.
And now we're that team looking for guys on the portal to find a guy
Right.
that could help us, you know?
Right. And for you, because you've always coached at a high level, you know, you've always made your teams successful. You've had that success. Now you're at the D1 level, and there's not a, you know, like an FCS, FBS tournament.
Yeah.
You're with the big dogs. So if you want to have an All-American, they got a place in that tournament.
And in that conference is not easy,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, it's been a struggle, but we're getting there. We really are. We're a much better team. You know, again, having Jesse, Johnny, you know, the funds now as far as having a room. Our room is nice. Things are getting better. They
Yeah.
are, without question. So
How
it's
about
exciting.
how about the grandkids? Tell me a little bit about those
Um,
mat rats that are out
I
there
got
now.
s-
The
I got
Patrick
s- I
names
got
out there
7 of 'em.
already.
I got 7 of them.
You have 7.
5 girls and 2 boys.
Wow.
So my son Joe has a little boy. He's 6. So he just wrestled his first tournament at the ISOP tournament.
Oh,
Go
there you go.
figure.
Oh, I think I saw that
Yeah,
on Facebook. Actually.
yeah. So he wrestled 3 matches. He seems he likes it, right? And and my other grandson Trevor he's pretty good.
That's
Yeah,
Michael's.
yeah. He's a ninth grader. A little small for the weight, but he's, you know, most people will tell you that he's really good. And
Yeah.
again, the bottom line with all of it, I, and not because we're doing this. I just want him to like what he's doing. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? He's smiling. He's a happy kid, and if it works out, it works out. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've watched um, Tommy Williams. Do you remember Tommy Williams? He was head coach at Center Reach for a while. Um, he's a while back, but Tommy, he's an old friend of ours. And my daughter was a senior, and Tommy's big. He was corrections officer, wrestler, through and through wrestler. My daughter's a cheerleader, and she's at a competition at Longwood High School. And I walk in the gym, and the loudest mouth in the gym is Tommy Williams at the top of the bleacher with this big sign, long wood, long wood. And I was like, wow, this guy, and he was like all about it. And we talked afterwards, and he said, listen, he goes, my daughter, it didn't matter what she was going to do. I was going to be behind her 110%.
That's
And I
awesome.
think it's the same thing. You know, someone asked me when my kids were little, you know, what are they going to play? And I said, they can choose whatever they want, offense or defense. No, you sort of,
Yeah,
you're going to wrestling practice every day, so they're going to kind of follow.
yeah.
But truth be told, no matter what they do, no matter what those grandkids do, you're going to be
Yeah.
behind 100%. So are
My
their parents.
granddaughters, like they are the best, man. I mean, when I see them, it's the best time of the day, all the time. They're like
Really?
great kids, whatever. And again, you know, things change, but I hope that doesn't change. You know, they're really good kids. So most important thing.
So, Joe, I always ask people toward the end of the interview, um, someone thinks of Joe Patrick. What are the words that you want to come out of their mouth when they say Joe Patrovic? What do they say?
Um, I think honest, you know, with our guys. I'm not for everybody, but I think most of our guys will tell you, you know, 90% of them enjoyed, you know, the experience. I think hard work. I think everybody talks about that, obviously, but I think our guys and my teams lived it. You know, a lot of people will tell you that we work really hard, and again, look, we worked harder than anybody. You know, and again, sometimes I would put guys in a van, you know, 3 guys to go to Pennsylvania in the middle of the summer. You know, I would see Louis Gianni and Paul Gillespie. It was
Yeah,
us 3 guys, right? With 2 or 3 guys. And other years I would have 20 guys. But the bottom line, you know, we worked at it. And I think, you know, that's the most important thing, right? And again, we didn't invent anything. You know, nobody invents anything. We found it from somebody else. We got it from, I had mentors, right? Great people that helped me. And at the end of the day, I think, and the other thing was relationship. So, you know, part of it is technique, part is condition, all the other things you talk about. But if they don't believe you, it doesn't matter, you know. So
yeah. I think that relationship is huge,
Yeah.
huge. I mean, we talked about that, not you and I, but I was talking about it before this interview with one of the owners um, of Austin Moving and Storage, and he was saying, in my business, it's about that relationship. And I said, that's every business.
Every business.
Every single
Absolutely.
business you're in.
Absolutely.
It's all
Yeah.
about relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's an honor for me because I get to call you my friend. And you are, like I said, I'm doing legendary coaches. And when you're a legend in two sports, that's impressive. And maybe it's your knowledge of football and knowledge of wrestling, or maybe it's just that relationship. Maybe you are that Pied Piper at every level that
Yeah.
makes kids want to win, want to work hard. And the work hard gets the wins.
Well, find a way to make it work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you have an offense, you have a defense in football, right? Well, guess what? This defense does not work with this team. So you have to tweak it or change things a little bit. Same thing in wrestling, right? Like, when I was a high school coach, we all did the same thing because I coached every one of them. But when you recruit guys, they come from here and they come from there, and their technique is a little bit different. Now it's still wrestling. Everybody does the same things in some ways, but at the end of the day, you have to tweak what you're doing, and it's a constant battle to do what you need to do to be better. And it's not easy, and I haven't figured it out yet, but we're still working on it.
I think you did a pretty good job figuring it out. You've been a great mentor for your kids, a great mentor to other coaches, a mentor for me. And like I said, it's just a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks
spending
for having
time.
me, man.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Oh yeah. My brother wanted to know how you felt about, because we can't wrap our heads around it. 3 instead of 2.
I'm still struggling with it.
Like-
I catch myself all the time.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
In the ref, I'm going. Damn.
What do you think?
I'm yelling at the ref like I realize it's 3.
Yeah.
Just it's 3.
What do you think? Do you think it's good for the sport? Bad for the sport?
I think it's fine. It's all
You
good.
do?
Yeah, all good. Riding time. That's not going anyplace. The count.
I like riding.
Turning guys.
Yeah.
Turning guys is different, and people want offense. That's what they, that's what
They
they
did the
had
same thing in
at the
football.
convention. They said, "Listen, we need more scores, right?
Yep.
More scores." So, and it's working. Look, we'll see. I guess at the end of the year, we have a survey all the time about what's going on, and we'll see. But I think it's good for the sport. I really do. And again, I wish high school could adopt, the circle. It's so much easier as a ref. The problem in high school, you don't have the room.
Yeah.
Because in college, if is one finger is unbound,
I know they're still wrestling.
you're still wrestling.
Right.
So it's really cool. It's easy for the ref. It's good for everybody. But they need bigger circles and more boundaries around it. You know what I mean? So that's a problem. But I really like it. Good.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right. Thanks, Bob.
thanks, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you.
me. Thank you.
It's a wrap. I want to thank Austin Moving and Storage for allowing us to record Sports Talk with Bob Mack in the studio today. Austin Moving and Storage, if you need anything moved, you're going down to Florida, you need a car shipped, you just need something done locally. Austin Moving and Storage. They're the guys to get it done. Their family's been great to me. They're taking care of us here. They'll take care of you at home with your move. Austin Moving and Storage.
Austin Moving and Storage, a family business built on pride, integrity, and values. Moving can be stressful. At Austin Moving and Storage, we do the heavy lifting so you don't have to. Hassle-free, worry-free, we've got you covered. Personalized service. With Austin, moving in the right direction. Austin Moving and Storage, your trusted Long Island nationwide movers.